Yeah, Mike Mastroni's here. The team manager, Scott, of Volume Bikes.
Yeah.
Filmer. And what other hats would you say you wear at Volume?
Team manager, filmer, demolition. Yeah, rider, obviously. Demolition staff. And, yeah, hold down van driver. Those 4 things, 5 things.
Professional 15-passenger driver.
15.
Yo, are you certified? I'm still working on mine.
Certified badass 15 driver.
I've been pushing a 15 way longer than almost anybody I know, I think.
How many times you crashed it?
0.
I scraped a Burger King sign the other day.
Dude, that's like the 3rd time.
What were your early days of riding like? Where did you learn your chops, per se?
Chops.
Your chops. Where'd you learn the bar spin? The mean streets of Connecticut.
Yeah, I grew up in a really small town in Connecticut called Kent with like between 2,000 and 3,000 people.
2 of which were you and Whoopi Goldberg.
Whoopi Goldberg and Henry Kissinger also had a house there.
So Kent is kind of like a place that you might want to go live if you needed to be kind of close to New York City, but not really, and you wanted to live.
Yeah, there actually are plenty of people who live there that take the train down to commute or whatever. They'll just like stay in New York and then just come back up on the weekends.
Take you like an hour and a half to get to New York from
Yeah,
there?
when I would go hang out with you, it was like hour 50, maybe 2 hours. I don't know, at the most.
And so, from your perspective, how did we start working together on the football DVD and such?
How did we start working together? Well, yeah, I was doing my self-film web videos at the time or whatever, and I was like I was 19. I was working a shitty job. I kind of like.
What job was this?
I worked in. It was like an old people, like an old folks home, basically in the kitchen, but. Yeah, it just sucked, man. It was like hometown scene, like just real like fucking, I don't know, like people with just small town mentalities, you know what I mean? Like the type of place where like the mom works in the kitchen and then like the daughter who's having a baby works in the kitchen too. So it was just very like, I don't know. I worked there for like a year and a half or something like that, but it was just a bad scene. And so like the whole time I worked there, I was just saving up money basically, and I was gonna like, I don't know, I was gonna move to California with my friend Becky actually, and just like move out here with a girl and like ride stuff like that.
Riding was like your main intention at the time.
Oh yeah,
too?
yeah, absolutely. Like I'd already like while I was working there, I'd already purchased like a GL1. And,
okay.
Whoops. I mean, yeah, seriously, like the worst mistake ever.
Really, that's a bad one.
Yeah, the audio is so crunchy.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wanted like the GL2, but
that's the one,
the
right?
GL1.
Yeah.
It was
That's
just
the
like
one.
I could afford it on eBay. You know what I mean? Excuse me. So yeah, I had like a GL1, and it like blew over on the wind on a tripod, like filming myself.
Wow.
And it was like the day I got it. I was so bummed. I was seriously like, it sucked. And
it just fully broke.
Oh yeah, it broke, and I sent it away. I think I spent like, I don't remember what I spent on it. Probably like $600 or $700 or something at the time. Because like that was pretty. Now it would cost like nothing. But at the time, it was definitely like super expensive. And I was like, fucking kid with no money or whatever. So yeah, like one of the first times out filming with it broke. So then I sent it away to get fixed, and I think that cost me like $400 or something to get it fixed. And then like it still didn't really work or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. But
so how'd you end up with the DVX?
Yeah, so like I said, I was saving up money to move to California with my friend Becky, and it was, I don't know, she basically like, we made plans to do it at a certain date, and I was already like, all right, I'm gonna quit my job, like this sucks, and I was already had like a crew that I was fucking riding with or whatever, and I had a lot of motivation to film and make videos and shit like that. So I don't know, but anyway, so I quit. And, yeah, she basically flaked on our plan, so I was kind of like, okay, I got all this money, like, this is sick. So the first thing I did was, buy the DVX. I already had my eye on eBay. It was just, like, good timing, you know what I mean?
Right.
And, yeah, so from there, I kind of, like, so I had all this money, and I bought this camera, and, yeah, I just started, like, kind of going around and, like, looking for
self-filming for the most part, right? Did you not really have anybody to ride with?
I did only self-filming. I just had a very, like... And I still do. I feel I just have like a very like do-it-yourself kind of attitude. Like I don't know. I don't know. It was really fun to me. I really enjoyed like the whole process. You know what I mean?
Can you get fully comfortable with other people filming you? Who are some people that you trust filming your riding?
Right now,
well, things have changed a lot since then.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I still honestly like I still kind of have that attitude. Like when I go out and film. Now it's still like there's tripod angles and there's like multiple tripod angles. And then it's like, but no, in terms of filmers, I fuck with like Josh Clemens, who also rides for Volume, and he's like my main dude, and then Kramus obviously too, but Kramus is just really busy with ride shit. So yeah, either one of those two guys I'll have film me. like Richie occasionally, but like mostly it's just like on a tripod stuff, you know.
So those early web videos, was there like what was the progress there? Because there was a few early ones that have been removed from Vimeo.
Yeah.
There was an early split part with Maddie Long.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Kareem actually was like YouTube. He was like, Mastroni, I'm gonna YouTube you, and just like YouTube me earlier today.
And he couldn't find the one with Maddie Long.
No,
of course,
but
right?
like I didn't even really realize that it was Web Video 5 is on there or whatever, which is funny because like
Swing set chain.
Oh yeah, swing set chain. See, Beacon knows.
Okay. This is old school CT shit. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So, but like, no, it was just cool. So like, I don't know. The whole progression of it was like, I don't know why I called them. I think it was like the number of videos I had made with my camera or whatever. So like I was just it seemed like the first one anybody gave a shit about was like 3. So I just did like
was that on the come
3.
up? That was on the come up in Def Grip and stuff? Or?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So yeah, 4 was like I had just quit my job, bought the DVX, and then I had like all this money and all this fucking time, and I just like drove around and just was hanging out by myself looking for spots and whatever. And then, so maybe, I don't know, like 6 months went by or something. And like, I just really like, I don't know, I treated the camera like it was like a movie camera. Cause at the time, I think I paid like $1,600 for it or something, like, which is absurd to think about.
Cause this is before HD was a consideration.
Oh, yeah.
HD was way too expensive
for a DVX,
at the time. Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? Like it was just, I don't know. I treated that thing like fucking royalty. So I just like, I just was really, really psyched on filming, really psyched on finding spots. And, so yeah, then Web Video 5 was like the one that got a shit ton of attention.
Was that the Def Grip one, or was this before that?
No, much before that. Web Video, it was like I was working this like fucking, I had like ran out of money and like whatever, and like my dad was like, "Oh, I'll get you a job at like my dad works at a big pharmaceutical company or whatever, so he got me this like shitty job, basically like in the scan department, and my job was to like basically like business people would like go out to lunch and shit like that, and they would like, you know, write an expense report and like expenses of the company as a business expense. And my job was to like take all these like ridiculous pieces of paper and receipts and stuff and like organize it into like one thing and then like scan it into this database and like sort of highlight like the pertinent information.
So you got a really up close look at how shitty having a normal job is early on.
Right? but it was like I never looked at it like that. I always just looked at it as like, okay, this sucks, but like
I'm gonna do it.
Now
so
I have
ride,
money to go ride and film like and keep doing my videos, you know.
Right.
So in the midst of all that, I did like Web Video 5 or whatever, and excuse me, that was the one that was on the come up, and it was like, I don't know, my friend actually texted me like while I was at work or something, and he was like, dude, are you aware like how much response this is getting or whatever? And I was just like, no. He's like, dude, it's like 150 comments deep or whatever, which at the time was like,
yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, and it's funny because I didn't even really think that one was that good. I just kind of put it out just thinking like, I like this song, you know?
Were they shit talking comments, or was it a lot of positive stuff?
No, it was mostly positive. Like, you know, there were a few like,
and this is the anonymous era.
I used the anonymous era. That was a good era, by the way.
Yeah.
It really was. Like,
Kinda
you
miss
got a
it,
really
yeah.
real you know, sort of a...
Now people have to go to fucking Instagram parody accounts to find out what people really think.
Yeah, I
it's
guess.
not nearly as witty.
Yeah, it's definitely not as witty. But, like, yeah, I don't know. It had a pretty crazy response, and, yeah, I don't know. Like, it was weird. And then I remember, like, right after that, I was like, oh, this is pretty crazy. This came out, whatever. And I was down in Pennsylvania, like, visiting with family or something like that. And then I had, like, that was before, I probably had, like, a BlackBerry or something. So I had no way of, like, any sort of social media, like, reaching me besides a computer.
Well, this is, like, before Instagram and everything,
oh,
too.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Absolutely. And, yeah, so, like, I remember, like, I fucking was, like, visiting my relatives or whatever, and I, like, checked my, I think it was Myspace. At the time, and I had a message waiting for me from like Proper that was like, "Hey mate, like you get a ride yet or whatever, you know?" And I was just like, I instantly
you get a ride.
Like
was the email in that accent?
It was probably, I don't know. That was a pretty terrible English accent.
You kind of gave up.
He went on to find out about the real accent.
Yeah, but I don't know. It was cool, and I instantly was just like, oh, right on. Like I like kind of got something out of this, even though that was never like my intention. Like, you know, I was just kind of doing it purely because
you hadn't really thought about getting sponsored. You were just like,
no, not at all, man. I was just doing it because I really fucking like, I don't know. At the time, I wasn't really like I had like dudes in Connecticut who I was friends with and stuff, but I mean, as you get older, it's like you kind of grow apart from those people, and like I didn't have any desire to really hang out with anybody in Connecticut at the time.
Right.
So I was just like, man, like, and I don't know. I feel like those guys were kind of talking shit on me a little bit, like low key. So I was just kind of like, I don't know. In my head, it was just kind of like more of a like, oh fuck you guys, like I'm just gonna do whatever I want. And that wasn't the motivation behind it or anything, but I don't know. It was very much so like I just had that. I had something in me at the time that was just like I'm gonna fucking do this, and I'm gonna do it by myself for myself. And it's like all I wanted was the video as the end result. And like it wasn't even, I don't know, I guess it's like I didn't expect any of the videos to have any sort of response, you know what I mean?
People don't realize that like to do 7 or 8 or however many web videos you do in a row, like to really work on that for a period of like a few years, I mean that's a serious investment of time, and like it's pretty crazy because you got so much better along the way too. Like you were learning so rapidly between shit.
It was funny though because it was weird times, because it was like I would just be driving around in like upstate New York or whatever, just like looking for anything to ride.
Yeah.
You know, obviously my riding then and my riding now are like fucking like apples
Very
and
strange
oranges.
lifestyle at the time of just like making something out of absolutely nothing.
But I enjoy the shit out of that.
Right.
So that's like why I thought that's why I fucking loved it, man. And like so I just would be driving around in like upstate New York looking like, oh, like there's a rail.
Yeah.
You can do a rail, so it's like
not
okay,
even a rail, but like
what
the
can I
worst
do?
little wedge piece ever, and you would just find out how to foot jam
like
whip
what
it
can
or
I
something.
do with my 2 pegs? Like, all right, I guess I could overgrind this rail, like, you know, and like, okay, I could film it cool and make it look good, and I just enjoyed the fuck out of that, you know. So like, it didn't matter that like what I was doing so much as that I was doing it. I think
I just love the idea of being on the East Coast. You got nothing else to do, but you're in the van going around with your bike and just fucking making something happen somehow. Because it's like,
no, I loved it, man.
Being from the East Coast is like, what are you gonna fucking do when you're from a small town? You know,
I fucking loved it. It was seriously like such fun times. Like I actually watched like my I'm really glad. I kind of like got embarrassed at a certain point of like because obviously how I ride now is much different. So there was definitely a point where I went on. I guess it was like my Vimeo was where all my shit was or whatever. So I went on my Vimeo and I was just like, okay, web video 3, private, 4, private, 5, private. But like at some point along the way, like somebody must have downloaded it, and that's why like 1 or 2 of them are on YouTube. You probably fucking did it.
Beacon together in the stash. Yeah, I can see that.
But no, I'm really like the Def Grip video is the one that I'm honestly like the most proud of.
And that was like 95% self-film, but there was maybe like 1 or 2 clips where he was in New York, like right when we met.
Scott filmed this one clip, and he
Got
sent
the
it to
wall
me.
ride, right?
And it was all slow motion and epic and shit, but it wasn't because I made it that way. It was because like whatever format he sent it, because I still don't even know how to fix this.
It was it was a new age Sony dad cam model, like the SR-17 or some shit like that, and it could film at 240 frames per second.
It was some sort of HD, right?
It looked horrible though. The resolution was so poor, but it was super slow motion. I remember filming. That's so funny. It was right around the corner from the Snake Lounge. Shouts to the Snake Lounge.
Right, and I remember he did that gap to wall ride, and then one of your homies, I forget who, but was like, because this is like New York, and that era was so territorial about spots and like what you were going to do, because there was not that much to do spot-wise.
Was that an ABD? Like had someone done?
No, but people had talked about it. Maybe,
but no, the chain wasn't there. You did it with. Did you do it over the chain?
The gap to wall ride?
No.
I don't know.
Are we talking about the same one?
I'm talking about the gap to wall ride where you could see all the homies in the background.
Yeah, you could see like Muffin Man and like Day and everybody in the background.
Yeah, it's the.
But like it's super
the driveway,
slow motion
the driveway
epic,
cut
for no reason.
The driveway cut to the bug splat.
Yeah, it's a little guy like right here, and then like the bug splat.
Yeah, no, there's usually a chain that goes across that driveway.
I don't remember a chain.
No, maybe I'm
no chain.
Tripping. I don't know. So. Sorry,
free coaster.
My chain heavy.
That was cool.
My chain heavy.
Yeah, no, but like I didn't anyway. But whatever camera you had, at the like that would like I couldn't fix the format, so it was this like epic slow mo fucking New York clip. But I remember you filmed like an angle, but it was funny because I didn't like everybody for sure thought that I made it slow motion because like I edited it, but it was I was like on one there, I don't know, it worked.
That was 09, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably something like that. I was such a bad filmer too, and I think I filmed it across the street. He used like a little chunk of it, but like,
I have a photo of you filming with the DVX. I have a photo.
Yeah, the run-in.
Okay.
My legitimate attempt at filming it became the run-in shot, just for the record.
The run-in. Yeah, Scott held it down with the tripod.
I had the main angle.
So that was like when we first started riding together. So from your perspective, how did we first link up? Pause.
Yeah, pause. So it's fine. I watched the Edwin podcast, and I was just like even he was just like, oh no, I don't say no homo anymore.
Yeah,
like,
no homo sounds so weird at this point.
I mean, it's just like the whole
times have changed.
Yeah, times have definitely changed. But so that was like the beginning of 2009, and then after that, well, I got hurt.
Right, numerous knee injuries over the years.
Well, yeah, the end of the Death Grip video was like my actual knee injury, but I was like too fucking stupid and young to even knew what I did.
Oh.
But anyway, so I like right as soon as the Death Grip video was done, I was like scheduled to go on my first, because I was on proper at that point. So I was like scheduled to go on this like, it was like a 4 or 5 week trip to England with Alex Platt.
Right.
Which was also kind of funny because I had met Platt like one time before that. And then
so you guys unrelatedly were like the American proper team.
Yeah, because he was on proper too. And I mean, I was aware of Platt because I had like seen his peg leg section and shit like that.
And you lived like an hour or two away from each other.
Yeah, but we had never really hung out like before that. And then, but yeah, anyway, so we like went to England. I mean, this doesn't really have anything to do with me getting on OSS, but it's part of the story. But so it's like fucking. So we go to England. We were there for like 3 weeks or something like that, 4 weeks, and then come home. And then like I started hanging out with Jake Seeley a lot too, and like riding for the Garden because Platt rode for the Garden. So it was like me, Platt, and Seeley were kind of like the 3 like sponsored riders like from our area or whatever. So we all kind of like started hanging out. And like Seeley would come down to New York all the time and like pick it with you and stuff.
And he was like a real pro at the time. Like
Seeley he was like he was on Sunday Pro, I think. And like Jake was and still is, I think, like one of my favorite riders.
Legend and living legend, deserves more respect than
I feel like people don't even get it. Like it's like, I don't know, anyone, to me it's like people be like, oh, you see like Chase Hawk ride a bike, it's amazing, or you see Chris Fox ride a bike or something. To me, like that's how I feel. That's how I feel about Jake. It's just like how is this motherfucker doing this stuff? It's amazing.
Right. We could sit here and list off Jake ABDs on rails like all day without a problem. Like,
NBDs?
He invented NBDs. Yeah. Sorry, Jake. But he's invented so much stuff without probably even really realizing he was inventing some of it.
Ooh, this grind looks cool. I'm gonna do this one.
I'm it's a catch-up grind. Sorry, Jake. We've been doing this Jake Silly voice for like 10 years. I'm
like
sorry.
A fire engine red.
It doesn't even really sound like Jake's voice anymore for the record.
It really does, though.
Whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. All right. So I know you want to tell this ridiculous fucking alley story about me like meeting you and being.
It's not even that big a deal. It's just funny because it was some girl that I think you met her at a show. She hit you up on MySpace. You hooked up with her.
Yeah.
Then she came down to hang out with me. I like super randomly again from MySpace. She drove like 4 hours. Like
that's what she did with me.
Yeah, for both of them, it was such a ridiculous. From Ithaca to Queens and Ithaca to Kent is like both are ridiculous drives.
I think it was just like I was 19 and I thought it was cool that I had like gone to this show and this random girl saw me. It was a Girl Talk.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So
even better.
Yeah. It was
Scott
awesome.
likes that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was my first. It was like one of my first like actual shows too. So I was just like I went to this show with my sister and fucking this girl was there, saw me, and I think I had like left a comment on the Girl Talk MySpace, I guess. Like the next day, like some fucking super fanboy comment, like, "Oh, good job, man! Like sick show last night," like something a fucking 19-year-old kid would write. And she like instantly like followed me or whatever, like friended me, messaged me, all this stuff, and was just like, like, hey, I'm Allie. Like, you want me to, and like we started talking.
That is the sickest way to get laid ever.
Yeah,
on MySpace from a fucking Girl Talk concert.
Right, exactly. So, but it was like it wasn't even any of my doing,
Right. Yeah.
So I was just like, as a 19-year-old kid, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. This girl's gonna like fucking come hang out with me. So she comes and hangs out, and then somewhere in the conversation, she was like, oh, you ride BMX, cool. Like I know this guy Adam from New York. He's got like a website, and, like, all this stuff, and I was just kind of like, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That's disgusting. I feel puke rising up in my throat right now.
You post all my videos or whatever,
And so she was like, do you know Mike Mastroni? I'm like, nah. She's like, oh, he says he's on your website. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. And then I figured it out. But
yeah, you cool guy. The fuck out of me.
Somehow that led to us working together. I'm not sure what I did. Like, did I just message you? I'm like, oh, let's work together.
We can pick up how we left off.
Okay.
So I don't really know at what point that all went down. I think it was early. It was like early Mike web video days. Like it was like.
Well, it was before the Death Grip
It was definitely
video,
before Death Grip video. So like, but I don't know. But anyway, I think at some point I think it was the end of 2009. You sent me a message on like Instant Messenger or something, and you were just like, "Yo, like let's fucking, I got some ideas for OSS or whatever. Come down, like take the train down and come hang out with me or whatever, and we'll like talk about stuff." So, yeah, I remember like. What's funny is too the original team lineup was like so ridiculous, like in comparison to.
How do you remember it? Because I remember some weird ideas too.
This is like what the deal was early on, kids. So Adam was just like, oh yeah, like we're gonna start this thing. It's gonna be you, Russ Barone,
yep,
Ralph Burry,
Rory.
Yeah,
Joof.
Rory Ellis, Joof, and Craig. And
See, that's pretty solid. I'm still looking at it like, damn, that's a pretty cool team. Yeah,
Yeah.
Even though it's weird because like these are like the only people that I rode with at the time. The only, it's like I was riding with so many like young ass kids in New York and shit.
Yeah. Not that much has changed.
Yeah,
young
still
kids thing.
still
There's
rolling
a
with it.
young kid pointing a camera at us.
And he's
right now.
drunk and he keeps talking as if we're going to be able to hear him.
Yeah.
Look at him leaning.
He's elated because he just helped.
How do you feel about seeing this? You built. At what age did you build your first camera dolly?
Were you doing weird
19 was the first
like
dolly
that?
thing. Yeah. So that was like Def Grip Video was like the dolly stuff.
But you were rolling the dolly yourself and then pedaling at it, or did you have someone to roll it for you?
He clearly hasn't watched the video. No, I just would use the dolly thing to fucking for setup shots or whatever. Like I remember.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Excuse me. One clip. I would just do I don't know. I mean, I still am exactly like this. I'm like super into spots and like fucking shapes and colors and just the way shit looks or whatever. So like the dolly thing for me was like I was just like, okay, this is cool. I can roll the camera on the dolly, but like, yeah, no shit, I'm filming by myself. So like, how's that gonna
it's
work?
Very
out?
tough to pull that
so
off.
I just kind of I was just like, oh, I can just use it for cool like lead-in shots or whatever. So like I remember one clip in the video, like I did this wall ride down like a 9 stair or something like that. It was like a little thread the needle guy between like a window, and I just kind of like wanted a shot from the top, but I didn't want to do it twice because I had one camera. So I would just like do like a dolly shot, like lead in to like show the wall ride from the top, and then I just like filmed the tripod from the bottom. Like I would just do it for stuff like that.
This is punk rock as hell.
And that was how the OSS football intro was born.
Yeah.
That was a separate idea that he came up with, like for the intro. Very deliberate.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's basically So Adam and I had sex with the same girl. That's basically how we fucking started.
Basically, every good thing that's happened to me in my entire life.
Yeah.
Smoke
But
bros.
it's like, I mean, I was like getting known with like my videos and shit at the time too. You know what I mean? So it all kind of was like, oh, like this girl. It was just like a more of a funny way for us to meet than like
those are like that's the rewards that come with putting in work on your bike. You get the MySpace thoughts.
Yeah.
You do the bunny hops, you get the MySpace thoughts.
Yeah.
That's how I see
Whatever that means.
We got in contact. So that was the original OSS team.
That was the original team. Attempt, yeah. And it became apparent very quickly, I think, with the original team that it was like, I mean, like Russ is cool as fuck. I still like Russ is on Demolition, so I guess I have to film with him still too. And like it's cool. It's always like it's no weird feelings or anything there, But like it was pretty obvious that like Russ and like Ralph Burry just
not on the same page.
It was like those two might have been. I don't even know if they were on the same page with each other, but yeah, it was like they were definitely not on the same page with what we got going on. And looking at it now, they were probably like I remember. This makes no sense, but like I remember like me and Craig Passero or something. Like I remember we like took the train down or to New York City or something, only like to meet up with Adam, only to like drive in Russ's car to Boston, and that was like our first trip. And I just remember like it just totally seemed like those dudes were like not feeling it.
Yeah,
and, like
I think Russ and Ralph were a little weird about being around Craig because Craig was killing it so hard.
Well,
and
that was
when
Craig was the Boston Strangler
and was just Craig was just doing bar spins and whips and everything on like spots that nobody had ever ridden like that before, and that's how he got the name Boston Strangler from Lino and that whole crew because he was just not like he was taking every spot and just abusing it to the point that nobody else was going to be able to get a clip on it.
That's Craig.
Still kind of what he does. He still kind of strangles the shit out of spots.
Love it.
I wish Catfish was here to do like his whole like. No, the Craig impression. Like with the glass, where he's like.
I'll hit him up right now to get a video of him doing it, just so we can include that. Yeah.
Gonna roll some weed. Like, he's always just like doing like some shit.
Chris,
like
you want to roll a blunt?
Yeah, it's not even like
Yo, if I like throw down some weed, would you? Roll it.
This was Craig like before he was like a grown up and like was able to get his own weed. He'd always be walking it. You guys got any weed?
It's not even like the weed thing. It's just like everything was just like
Craig. No, my favorite Craig movement is he used to put his glass up with 2 fingers like this.
Shove
like, you think you could?
There was a video. I think it was like. Our Salt Lake, like it was like the OSS Salt Lake City skate park session video.
Yeah, you had
like
wicked good B-roll on that one.
Yeah, he was just like adjusting his glasses after a 540 or something like that, and it was just like with the thumb, I think. It was like
so good. I love Craig. Yeah.
So animated.
Craig is the
Passero.
Shit. But
I love him.
All right. Where were we at here?
The original crew didn't really work out as well as it planned, but then we all kind of just started to work on the project, and
a
lot of time spent in New York. few random trips, Boston and stuff like that. But yeah, like Craig became a part of it real early on.
Yeah, the team definitely changed. So yeah, when like Ralph and Russ were kind of like, it was, I don't know, for a while it was like, I don't know, Sealy wasn't on, but he was on, and
because it was supposed
like,
to be a parts company, and he was on Stolen for parts.
Yeah, that's what it was. But I remember like Platt was on pretty immediately, and then it just became like normal for me because it was like I was already hanging out with Sealy and Platt all the time, so it was like Sealy, Platt, Craig, like Chris Zepp.
Yeah, Chris Zepp was around a lot. Yeah.
Rory was still there, so it was like, yeah, I don't know, the team. It was like the beginnings of the team, and then I'm trying to think like who else we filmed with, like in Austin.
Bobby Whiteley from
he came through a bit.
Nah, that was much later.
Oh, really? Yeah, I just remember
much
the one of the first days I was filming for Flip Clips Volume 1 was you guys were all wearing the same OSS sweatshirt at that Green Ledge spot in South Williamsburg.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I guess just who has parts in football. That's who the team was.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Charlie came down a little bit here and there, but he was mostly... Gary Reeves.
Gary Reeves. That's who I was thinking.
Because I think even before Mastroni got involved, I filmed a ton of really badly filmed Gary Reeves clips that were like amazing tricks that most of them didn't make the video.
Watched it.
Yeah.
I watched it this morning actually because I was like Kareem was watching all these fucking stupid rap videos on TV this morning, and I was so pissed, and I was just like, it was, I don't know, it was just a bunch of BMX videos too that I didn't want to watch, and I was like, man, fuck you, like put on something good. So I put on that Gary Reeves video that Kramus did for Sunday.
Ooh,
and then one of the suggestions was a Garrett Reeves video that I made to that like that grassroots song.
Yeah,
it's like live for today.
Oh, the Sunday leftover one.
Sunday leftover,
yeah.
but I'm pretty sure that's the one. Like that's the shit.
Most
that's
of the bullshit I filmed.
Yeah. Because I was trying to remember but all the filming steez was like kind of like my filming steez at the time.
Because I was trying to film like him. Yeah,
I was like, did I film this? Like, I actually thought I might have filmed it, but I was like, nah. Yeah. I remember because I edited the video. So I was like, I remember editing this, and everybody was like freaking out about the film burns and stuff.
That's 100% true because I was trying to learn how to film, and he was the person I was learning from, and like along the way I was kind of like, but you were doing weird stuff at the time, like gyrating your hips while you were filming to get like the sort of like full encompassing
I was
look.
Just like after like a cinematic steez, I guess. You know what I mean? So it was you
had HD aspirations even before you had
I had HD
camera.
aspirations with a DVX, and I would just like ramp up the colors and fucking like export.
You would. Your tie-dye shirts were extra fucking vivid.
But anyway, Adam was definitely trying to film with me, actually. That's pretty funny to like think about it now.
I think when it really like got stepped to another level though was when we went to Austin and got an apartment.
That was really the only times I remember, honestly. Like I mean like 90% of that, maybe not 90%, but like I mean pretty much my entire part is Austin. Same thing with Jake. Like you went Austin and New York.
You went through a crazy transformation once we went to Austin because I think Mastroni, this has always been my take on it. His whole life before that was him trying to make something out of like pretty much nothing spot wise.
Yeah.
Then he gets to Austin, he's around all these amazing spots, and at first maybe he was like, oh, I'm going to do all this stuff that's not so creative. But then I think he started to get a lot of more influences, like. In a lot of ways, a lot of dudes in the team were building off each other. Like Garrett Reeves was like just really fucking creative, and Mastroni I think vibed off him. But then also when you like really started to be hyped on Tate shit, that kind of took you to a whole other space. Too,
honestly, what it was for me is like I actually I never really thought about it. Like I don't know, it's like I actually do remember like the exact day that I don't know. Basically, the situation in Austin was it was kind of the first time where I realized like I was the filmer. Too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it was like, because everything I had done up until that point was like I filmed it, but it was like for me, you know, it wasn't for like anybody else. Like I had done stuff with Maddie, or I had done like film clips with Garrett Reeves or Craig or whatever, but it never seemed like it was like I'd never lived in a house with a bunch of dudes before, and then like gone out, like I'm driving the van, I'm filming all the clips, and it was kind of like. Okay, yeah, like I'm the filmer.
Were you like down with that role from day one though?
Yeah, no, I was.
Fuck it, this is sick.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean that in any sort of like negative connotation or anything. I was just kind of like that moment where I realized like, okay, I'm the filmer, so like I got to make when I want to do something, like I have to kind of make it count.
Right.
And so it was a combination of that being like away from home for the first
and
time,
all your usual comforts.
And well, it wasn't even like I mean I don't know, like I'm psyched on where I'm from or whatever, but it was like I was just happy to get the fuck out of there. But it was more like being away from like a 19-year-old kid being away from his parents for the first time kind of thing, where it was like, okay, like I can do whatever I want in life now.
There's all these bars. There's all these things I can do.
Yeah,
there's amazing
like
spots everywhere.
I can like meet girls, or I mean, I think I was like 20 at the time actually. But so it was like
I remember you going to the bar. I think
those two things, and then like the knee injury was another thing. It was either it was kind of like, okay, so I'm the filmer, but it's also like I have this crazy knee injury. Like I know my ACL is torn. I have to ride with a brace. So
everything you filmed at that time was pretty much like you were trying to do it in as few tries as possible because you were like hurting bad.
Yeah. It sucked. It was just like I just was like reluctant to get it fixed because I didn't. I kind of thought it was cool actually at the time. It was like because Sealy was my favorite rider, so I was just like, oh, Sealy wears a knee brace. Like wearing a knee brace is cool.
And you were like good at bar spins and tail whips, but that like you pretty much didn't do them especially because of the injury.
Yeah. No, I mean it wasn't even that. I just kind of like I wasn't really into them. I was good at them. I still am good at bar spins, I guess, but it's like I wasn't like into them at the time. But yeah, like the knee injury just made it like for me when I thought about filming a clip, it was the same thing as like the filmer mentality where it's like, okay, like I should make this count. I should make it like something I know I want for my part.
It was a sick era because so many different dudes in the same house in the same area who were just all killing it on their own level. Yep. Like it was just if you wanted to be inspired by bike riding, like we saw Craig's riding go from like sort of like this Garrett Reynolds type rider to like all of a sudden he was just doing sick creative shit. And Garrett Reeves, I think, rubbed off on him a lot. Like just a lot of like really creative minds.
Garrett Reeves did that one tight wall ride in the parking garage between the stairs and it was between the railing and the stairs.
Stuff like that all the time.
Yeah.
He was so open-minded.
Yeah, top with the blue and red windbreaker.
Yep.
I wasn't around that day, but I remember when I saw the photo and I was just like, fuck. Like that's
That was definitely Mastroni inspired, I think.
Mastroni at that time, like he what he's saying, like him being the filmer, like he definitely like adapted to that role super easily. But then at the same time too, he would also just escape, be gone for 3 or 4 hours, and come back, and like that's how he found the cow to cow, which is one thing that we definitely have to talk about.
That.
So, he came back, he's like, "Yo, I found a cow. I'm gonna jump off and land on a cow." It was like in one ear out the other. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
Too,
I don't
dude.
care what you're saying right now.
Well, I think going back to what I was talking about before about like I remember that exact day where it was like. I kind of realized, I think I was watching like a lot of snowboard videos at the time, and we had Minefield at the house, the Alien Workshop video, which like Greg Hunt made.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like I just, having all these like things kind of like collide for me with like the knee injury and like all this shit, I just kind of was like, and I was a super fan of Tate's, obviously. So it kind of was just like this like freeing thing where I was just like, oh, like, I can do whatever I want. Like I got the mini golf course spots. Like I got like all these things that like no one else would ride, you know? And it was like, I don't know, a big part of it too, man, honestly, is like, it was kind of like, I just come from like doing the Def Grip video, which was like pretty conventional. And it was like, I don't mean to be, I don't know, it's not like you fucking...
It was you making the best out of some shitty-ass spots, but then all of a sudden you had almost whatever spot you wanted in Austin, and you were just fucking...
But it was almost like I was over it, in a sense. Like, I was just so, like, fucking... I don't know, like, I just wasn't... Like, I was super hyped on that, but I almost felt like, oh, if I'm pushing myself in, like, bigger and scarier directions, like, I'm just gonna get hurt, or I'm just gonna not be able to ride, and I just kind of realized like, oh, there's other avenues to take here, and they're more exciting, you know. So that's kind of like where I was at, like at that time, and then but that was like in the first 2 months we lived in Austin, like where I realized I was like the filmer and shit. I was having trouble, kind of like I was cool with it or whatever, and I liked it, but I was having trouble sort of like finding shit that I wanted to do because I was still kind of like looking at the world with more of a conventional eye. And then once I had that like freeing moment and I realized like, oh, you literally can like do whatever the fuck you want. Like I kind of like took that and ran with it. And that's when I was like when you think that, like if you go out and you look for spots with like that mentality, like you can see anything. Like it's like fucking drugs or something. Like, you know, you seriously like your mind is like totally open to it. So yeah, at that time I remember like going out, Sealy, I don't know, he was like on a trip or some shit, but he always used to like let us use his little Ruckus, like his Honda Ruckus thing. So I used to just like leave the house at like as soon as it got dark, and I would just like mob around like North Austin on the Ruckus, like looking for spots and shit. And that's how I found like the Cow to Cow. That's how I found the Teeter Totter log manual thing. I did. It wasn't even like those things needed finding because I probably drove by it like hundreds of times. It was more just like I needed to like be by myself and not like in a house with everybody, and then I could like think for myself and really and like actually like find shit, you know what I mean? It was like I kind of like something I realized about that video too from like a video standpoint is like I'm definitely the type of dude that like I like hanging out with people and I like fucking being social and being in the van with other people. But when it comes down to like being creative, like I'm not spontaneous. I'm not in the moment with the other dudes. Like I'm doing that shit like on my own.
So it works for you because you can film spontaneously. Like if somebody's like, "Oh, I'm going to do this," you're like, "All right, cool, yeah, let's film it." Right.
But like in terms of editing, like with football, it was very much like that video is what it is because we all moved out of Austin and I went home to my house in Connecticut and edited it like by myself. Like all the Fleetwood Mac songs, like everything about that video was like exactly what I wanted it to be at that time. But it wouldn't have happened that way if like we all just stayed living in Austin and I was like in the house like, "Hey, yo, guys, what do you think about this?"
Right.
You know? Like it would have just like the whole thing would have fallen apart.
And we're probably all like that in that we're all like creative in our own ways, but we need like alone time. Like a lot of people aren't like that. A lot of people want to be social all the time.
I thrive off alone time. Like,
I need alone days, alone weeks. You know.
Yeah. Oh, I need like it's like I really enjoy like the perks and everything of like hanging out with people and shit. But yeah, when it comes down to it, man, like I just like my most creative moments are alone, like behind the computer and on my bike. So yeah.
When you look at football now, how do you feel about it? Do you think it aged well? Like,
oh yeah, totally. I think it aged well. That's kind of like why I was talking about all this because it's like, I mean, yeah, for you viewers out there, like I said, I'm not spontaneous. I have this whole list of shit on my computer that I'm fucking reading because
that's a good thing.
There's no way I could actually form cohesive thoughts without it. So
I like that. You know, I get it because I'm way better when I have notes prepared to interview. Yeah. So I feel like as an interviewee, it would probably help as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, what were you asking?
Sorry. Just how do you feel football aged? And like when you look at it now, you watch Garrett Reeves' section today. How do you feel?
Oh fuck yeah, it's rad. I honestly like when I make a video, I totally like. My steez is to just like do as good of a job as I can. I like when I made football, it was like I was back home in Connecticut working this full-time like gardening job or whatever, just like all day, and then I would go home at like 4, ride for an hour, and then like stress out about football from 6 p.m. to like midnight. And I would do that. I did that for like 2.5 months until the video was done, basically. So, but anyway, like fucking, I feel like it. But then it's like after that initial like it premiered, it came out, it got the response that. You know, it got a good response.
There was like a 30-person fight at the premiere in Brooklyn, like Muffin Man and like all his homies. It was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I almost died that night.
That was retarded. But anyway, for the most part, it got a good response. And then like also like, when it went online, eventually it got a really good response too. Because I mean, you know, people haven't seen it unless it's online. Let's be real. So
even in 2010,
yeah. So but anyway, so it got a good response. But it's kind of like for me, once it gets the good response, it's like I'm out. Like I'm not gonna watch it again. I'm not gonna fucking like. It's like I have to be like on to the next thing or whatever.
Because why judge it from your perspective in the future? Your future perspective is not relevant. That perspective wasn't around at that time.
All you're gonna do is hate on your past at that point. You know. So I remember, but though I was in Salt Lake City on just probably the last time I was in Salt Lake, hanging out with Tate and filming for Finer Things, and it was like he put the video. He was kind of like drunk. I think he had like a girl over or something, and he like put the video on. Oh, and I was kind of like, oh no, like come on, man, like don't fucking put this on. But I was just like. He was just like, dude, I love this video. Like, it gets me, like, psyched up to go around. I still watch it all the time or whatever. And I was just like, that's sick. Like, so I actually was like, I humored him. And I, like, sat there and watched it. And I was like, you know what? Like, it's not that bad. So, like, yeah, I am happy with it. Like, I'm happy with how it aged. And it's like, I've almost come full circle to a point where I can sort of, like me and the things I'm into now, filming-wise, can, like, appreciate what I was doing back then, even though it's like apples and oranges, you know?
You don't look at like an old photo album and you're like, oh, I can't believe I used to dress that way. Or I mean, maybe you do, but you're not like mad at yourself that you used to dress that way. You're like, that was part of my time, yeah.
Seeing your adolescent son's first edit. It's like I can see a lot of my early
your former self,
exactly.
Is kind of like your son. That is that's a very deep thing. That's like an acid thought.
You're welcome.
Taking drugs or anything? Are there any other memories from that time period? Any specific things that stand out?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the whole like me finding myself as a rider kind of thing was mostly what I was talking about there. In terms of memories. But yeah, I mean, other than that, man, like just fucking living in a house with like a bunch of dudes and just being on your own. And,
you can't help but be creative in that environment.
Oh, it was sick.
Something can't help
and it's just like the other things about Austin were just cool as fuck too. Like just going to like, I remember like when South by Southwest was in town or whatever, and like I would just go see like, you're able to like walk down the street in Austin and like see bands and shit. Like I was super into this band, the Golden Filter at the time, and I just like walked down the street one day and I was just like, oh fuck, that's like the Golden Filter. They're playing right there. That's cool. And,
it's not an experience you get in Connecticut.
Yeah, it was like, you know, for me, I had like been hanging out with Adam in Brooklyn and shit like that, but it was never like I had a real. Austin is totally like a my first city kind of experience, by the way, but it's not, you know, it's like a town.
It's very accessible.
It's good.
It's super
a good
accessible
one for you.
but it's good. Yeah, it really like it opened my eyes to a lot of shit. It was kind of like the first time I started going out and like meeting girls and, you know, drinking. Like for better or for worse, it was a good experience. Like I learned a lot about myself in that 6-month period.
That's what we call hopping up off the porch. Once you're on the porch with your family, and then you're out of the womb and you're doing things. You hop up off the porch.
You step off the porch.
Step off it. You hop off it. You jump down with your bike. You do a bar spin.
When you're on the other side of the porch.
The porch is the thing. Then you moved to California. We both made that move together. What are your thoughts and recollections of this bizarre time period in our life?
Yeah, it was like I kind of remember like not knowing what to do because like football came out and I'm like, okay, I'm still at home. Like, why am I still at home? You know what I mean? Like, this is no good.
Yeah, this is weird. We need to be doing something bigger.
Yeah. I mean, we premiered it, I think, in like, what was it? Like,
it was the end of August.
Right,
I just broke my leg.
Because I went on Road Fools 18 in like early September, and it was right before that.
August 28th or 29th.
Yeah, then maybe we had already made the plan. We had already made plans.
Oh, yeah, we knew what we were doing. Yeah, because I flew, did Road Fools, went and hung out with Tate for 2 weeks, and then you met me there. And then
I want to talk about like first meeting Tate because that was super sick for me. Like fucking driving to like, so it's like moving to California. I didn't like, I've never cared for California like my whole life. Like my family's from here and shit. And I'd been here a couple times when I was younger, but it wasn't like, woohoo, I'm going to move to California. Like, if I had the choice at that point, I'd probably be like, dude, let's just move to Austin again, you know? Because I just was like, oh, Austin's sick. Like,
I think I remember us discussing that as an option for sure, yeah.
And it was almost like, you know, it was like the snowbird thing. It's like people fucking, like, you go south for the winter with Austin or whatever.
That's what our article was called, remember?
It was.
Yeah, snowbirds. Yeah, that was in Ride, yeah. Jeff Z came through for a little while.
But, so it wasn't like I was super psyched on the idea of moving to California, but I knew that, like as like in my mind, I was like, okay, like, you know, I want to keep working on projects with this guy, and like obviously, like, you know, if I can fucking be employed by Adam, like we're gonna move to California, we're gonna do awesome shit. So something good will come out of it. So I was just like, fuck yeah, like I'm out of here. I remember whenever I go on long drives or whatever, I always have like a steez where I leave at like 4 a.m. for some reason. Just I want to like beat any sort of traffic and like be to where I am faster at some point during the day. So I remember like dipping out of my town at like 4 a.m. just like, fuck yeah, like I'm out of here again. Like this is sick, you know? So I got to like drive cross country for the first time. So that was like, that alone was a reason for me to like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm going to do this.
What route did you take? 80?
80 west all the way, I guess.
It was a big old exodus at the time too, because a whole bunch of our friends like kind of all made the move to California over the course of like 6 months. Like,
but yeah, I just remember I had like the only hang up with me moving was like I bought a new van and I was like I couldn't get the fucking van fast enough and it was
from Bayside.
Bayside.
Is that right?
Yeah, the emo band. Yeah. But not the van that
they crashed in and killed the drummer.
Not that one.
Okay,
the one they had after that. He bought it after they were done with it.
Yeah, so it was
that's crazy.
Yeah, the van has a pretty. So yeah, I mean I'm not into that band or anything, but it was cool to.
Why
just
not?
Be like,
I listened to them for a period of time. They are sick.
As Sirens and Condolences.
I was probably into it when I was a kid.
Is that what that album's called?
Like in the emo like 15-year-old Under Oath days, like in those days.
As an emo band, I cared for them at the time. I thought they were sick.
Yeah. The guardrail will take you home, and
that was like the tear jerking song about the band member that died.
I think so. Yeah. And no, they had a lot of good hits. They're very
Scott likes Bayside.
They're like dark almost.
Much darker emo.
There was this one. I won't get into it, but yeah, check out Bayside.
Hashtag tangent.
The van does did and still does have a pretty crazy fucking dent in the side. And I asked them about it, and I was like, "What's up with this giant dent?" And they're like, "Oh, like it was like the drummer, I think, or someone, or the bass player who I bought it from." And he was like, "Oh yeah, my girlfriend took it for a while. Like she didn't fucking know how to drive."
Wait, that's still the van you own to this day?
Well, I just drive around in the volume van now.
Okay, but that van
I still have it.
How many miles on it?
Like 180.
Oh, that's not that.
Wait, it's a 12 passenger, isn't it?
15.
Oh, it's a full size.
15's only, bruh.
Well, no. Remember the van we were driving in Austin?
The one I had in Austin was like an Astro van.
That was like his original van.
No, that was when you were in Connecticut, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so
that mic's not plugged in. Brandon just tried to talk into it. Sorry, I know it's not plugged in.
Anyway, so I remember dipping cross country. I went to Salt Lake City, picked up Adam. And like I was just because Adam was there on Opals or whatever, so I was just like, oh fuck yeah, like get to meet Tate. Like,
and it was sick because we were just going around the street all day with Tate, just doing whatever. Yeah, it was fun.
I was like so fascinated. Like I just wanted to like I don't know. Like obviously we were friends instantly. You know what I mean? Because we're just like-minded humans. But yeah, man, it was like just I wanted to just like sit back because like I remember Adam was texting me at the time like, dude, Tate's crazy. Like we would be in this parking lot. And, like, it's just totally flat, and there's, like, one pole, and he's just, like, it's not even, like, bent over, and he's just trying to, like, spin around on it.
He did, yeah.
Shit. And I would
just be staring at it. We would smoke a joint, and then we would ride around for a few hours, and he would be looking at shit, like, just...
like, dude,
lost
I love
in
it.
thought. It was crazy.
wanted to just, like, be there and like, absorb what was going on. Like, I wanted to, like, just sit back and just watch and just, like, kind of talk about riding with him, but, like, just watch him operate.
That's the kind of person Tate is, where like you're around him and you just want to soak up whatever the fuck is going on in his head because he's such a sick person. Yeah,
it's like so that was really cool. Going to Salt Lake City. So yeah, we like went to Salt Lake City, picked up Adam, drove to Vegas for Interbike, and then that was a pretty crazy moment for me too, because like I mean obviously I'd never been to Vegas. Like it was like in the movies when they like you're driving around in the car and they roll down the window and it's just like, oh, it's a city.
Because Vegas is like a cartoon place that is just so ridiculous.
Vegas, by the way. It's fucking so stupid. But
I've never been there to ride, but in terms of everything else,
I've never been there. Never been there to ride either. But I mean, just as a place, like Biz always talks about Vegas, and he's just like, dude, it's fucking sick. He's like, you could drink a beer walking down the street.
That is
like,
Biz,
you could do that in Long Beach. Like I do that every day. Like walking over to my chick's house. Like it's not that cool. Like and he's just like, yeah, but there's tits everywhere. So, it's like, yeah,
that's
but
definitely Biz.
It's just like whatever, dude. Anyway, so but yeah, Vegas was cool, and like going to Vegas with like Tate and Adam, and going to Interbike. I'd never been to Interbike, and like, as a kid, you always think like. It's not cool. It's a giant bike shop. It sucks.
It's definitely not that cool.
It's not cool at all. But like as a kid, for the first time going, you think it's cool and like hanging out.
If you've never met any pro riders before, it seems pretty cool to meet like a couple hundred of them at the same time. But if you're used to it, it doesn't seem like anything.
It's just like when you go on a shop stop trip and you fucking walk around the bike shop and you squeeze brake levers. It's like that.
Squeeze brake levers 40, for sure. Yeah,
that's protocol.
Yeah.
What else are you gonna do when you look at a bike? Yeah, what can you do?
It's so shop stops are so fucking awkward, man. Like you walk in the shop and it's just like, oh, cool. It's just like some big dude and it's just like, oh, you own the shop, cool. You ride BMX, cool. Like you're just like, yeah, nice shop, dude.
Nice lever here you got here. Yeah,
it's a Diet Comp.
It's funny too because like it doesn't tell you anything except that like, oh, maybe the mechanic either did like a great job of the brakes or not, and like you can tell right away, and it doesn't matter.
None of us even ride brakes, so it's like, why are we squeezing the brake lever? It's so stupid.
So what were your memories of like when you were riding in California? Because I remember as well, like you were saying, feeling pretty lost. Like we just didn't know what the hell we were gonna do. Yeah,
it was seriously like I was bummed on it honestly at first. Like I don't know, like this is gonna sound like weird and like fucking like pretentious, like, oh, I'm from a fucking small little rich town or whatever, but it's like, it's like culture shock, man. It's like you go from, I mean, you guys fucking know.
We didn't know what bar to go to.
Yeah, it's like
you gotta stop talking. I'm sorry.
Connecticut, you understand? It's like you come from even like Austin. Austin was a place where it was like it was a city, but like I said, it was kind of like my first city kind of steez, where it's like you would go outside the city and you're just like not in the country, but you're in like suburbia and everyone lives in like houses with yards and it's like it's a fully like you can have a dog, you can have all the kind of things that you could have back home in the country. But in LA, like we moved into like this ghetto ass house. Well, we didn't even move into the house first. We tried to stay in this little shop space with Rich Hirsch, and that lasted like 3 days.
And it was weird,
but it was really hot in there, and there was no air conditioning. And it was August, so that was.
We just moved out there with no plan, and even then, like I remember when we like kind of reached the point where it's like, well, I guess we're BMX riders. We're gonna go out and ride, and like we had nothing to go on in terms of spots. We would just drive around.
Yeah,
we were
retarded,
and like look.
That's punk rock.
That was punk. Yeah, it was cool. I mean, we obviously like fuck, look at us now, but you know what I mean. It was like. We found shit or whatever, but it was a
struggle. We didn't. We weren't clued in with anyone.
And I mean, but we ended up living in this like. I fucked up my Tom White.
Zoom in on the sticker, Began.
Yeah, Began, show that. He's the photo.
This is going to be
like
a total divergence, but
write the Czechoslovakia.
Yeah,
all right.
This is. Fuck. All right, what were we talking about? We're talking moving to California.
Moving to California.
All right. So yeah, it was just different. Like, just being around fucking people playing like mariachi music at like 4 a.m. and stuff. It was just things that like nothing could have prepared me for that as like a dude from Connecticut. You know what I mean? So it was, I don't know, it was weird. And like, I'm like the type of dude that like I need to have like my surroundings be kind of nice to like feel like I'm at home. So I guess it's like I just never really felt at home where we first lived in the first house. And it was just very chaotic and like, we moved in there and then it's like somehow like Shitty and David Grant like became like our roommates and stuff. And like David's cool, like she's cool, whatever.
They're both insane in their own right.
But it was just like a weird situation where it's like we were all broke. We had, I mean, maybe you weren't broke, but like I was broke. Shitty was broke. Shitty was broke. Like we had like no, it was like Beavis and Butthead. Like we had no furniture. You know, it was like this giant like 6-bedroom house where we were just like, ugh.
Yeah, we were so retarded in retrospect. Like we just did not know what we were doing. Like we didn't know how to be adults. There was nobody around to kind of guide us. Rich was there, but Rich
there was definitely no adult around to guide us at all.
The adult to salvia ratio seemed to be off.
And that was, and there was a lot. That was like when we first figured out, like, oh, we can go to the bar and we can get drunk, so let's do it every single night. And then like we just didn't. Austin was different.
I definitely wasn't really partaking in that whole bit of it.
It took a while, and then we started going all the time. But that was the whole thing with Rich too, or with Austin in comparison. It was like, we're here for a few months, let's ride our asses off. But it's also so easy to find spots in Austin.
But with Austin, like we went there with a goal of filming the video. Like we went, it wasn't even like because we didn't. In Austin, we didn't hit up anybody for spots or anything in the same fashion that when we moved to LA, we're Long Beach, we didn't hit up anybody.
We didn't know anybody to hit up.
We didn't know anybody, and we didn't give a fuck. But we just, Austin was just like catered to our needs, and LA was, Long Beach was just like, okay, like there's this big kind of town where like everything is, I don't want to say tapped out, but like a lot of stuff's been done, and like we don't really know, and like
more intimidating for sure.
We're not really hanging out with anybody, and all the fucking dudes who live here hate us moving here, or hate you because you're moving here. So that was kind of weird to be like tied up with all that too. So. Yeah, it was weird. It took a while. I hated it for the first couple of years. But the one thing we did in that time period was Denver Nugs.
Wow, which was a pretty amazing video, I gotta say. Yeah.
See, that's the thing. I actually hate it.
Really, you hate it? Why?
I'm super dissatisfied. I feel like for me as a creative dude and as like a filmer, it was a giant step backwards.
Really? Why so?
I think the only benefit, honestly, that came out of it for me was filming on a skateboard for the first time, like filming like some rolling long stuff. Like there's this one line I filmed of Gabe, I remember, where it was like
with the sun in the background.
It was at that one school in Denver where it was like basically right across from our house, like across the highway, but he does like something down one rail and then like overgrinds this like big ass kink rail. I'm pretty sure. Maybe he just straight grinds it. And then Devin takes a sip of water afterwards. That clip. So like
that was funny.
I think that was the first time I ever filmed with a skateboard. So I mean, I don't know. And throughout that video, I like filmed some like rolling fisheye stuff or rolling whatever. Like before that, I had actually never used a skateboard to film. So that was maybe I know it's like retarded to think about it now, but yeah, like people just weren't doing that back then. It was totally acceptable as a BMX rider, just like, oh, I'll just fucking film with my bike. And like, I don't think I did a bad job or anything. I just think like I don't know. That was the only good that came out of it for me. I think like,
well, at least there's that.
I will say that, but for that period of time, for a month, like the fact that we only had a month and there was, there's a lot of dudes out there.
No,
and stuff,
I mean like the video is cool. Like the actual like the times in Denver were like super fun. I just mean like. From a video standpoint of like the final product,
right?
It was super
very structured.
Like football was like pretty much nobody had like I don't know. I pretty much had all the input. I was like doing all the editing. I was making all the musical decisions. I was like doing it 100% my way. And I think that's kind of how it should be with like if it's your project, and like. But Nugs never felt like it was like my project. It was just kind of like. Raban picked a song, and then like Kramus picked a song, and then you picked like Who the Neighbors, and I was down with Who the Neighbors too. But then it was like
very proud to have been involved.
I feel like Gabe might have picked like one of the songs. It was just like it was cool. It was like cool to do a project like that, I guess. But I think for like I didn't have any. I think I just wasn't focused at the time. I was getting lazy. I remember actually specifically like being in Denver, and we had a couple days left, and I remember being like. I should probably get up early one of these days, go get some shots of the city, like do some cool intro stuff. And then I just remember being like, nah, fuck it. I'm not going to do that. And like, it's like, whatever. I'm just going to fucking lay here and I'm going to sleep. And like, that was kind of my mentality at the time was just like, yeah, we got what we got. Like, it's cool, And like, and that shows in the video for me. I think so. That's kind of like why I'm bummed on it. I feel like it was just like a lack of.
It wasn't as focused. It was a little bit more by the seat of your pants.
Yeah, it was just.
Se.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. It wasn't like I didn't take the. It was kind of like you gave me an opportunity to do a project, and I didn't really. I mean, I'm psyched you're happy with it, but I didn't really like take the initiative to fucking
go
make it what it should have been. You know
what it could have been.
Well, it's good to know that you have like a project that you weren't 100% happy with, because I feel like football and the volume video were much more like that. That's you in your creative space.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So then after Denver Nugs, you were still living in Long Beach or whatever, but like things really started to change for you when you got the job with Volume. How'd that go down? What were you supposed to be doing in the first place? What'd you end up doing?
Yeah, it was a pretty smooth transition, honestly, because I was already kind of like the dude with the van. Like I was already like I had years of experience just driving around and like filming dudes. You know what I mean? So it was like it seemed it was like a pretty easy transition. Yeah, I don't know. I remember because I was like Tate had got me on Volume. That was like a pretty crucial thing I think we missed. Like
right.
at some point I just was like, oh yeah, Proper's just whatever.
Probably like a couple months that you were riding.
It was like the first couple months in California where it was like it's just like as a rider I was just like, oh yeah, like Tate was just like, yeah, let me talk to Castillo about you or whatever, and that whole switch happened. So I was riding for Volume for I think like a year in California. I made like that welcome video with like the tie ride and everything.
Yep. With the handicapped guy getting in your way.
I did kick a handicapped guy out of the spot.
There was like a mentally retarded guy there, and he was just sitting in the shot, and Mastroni was like stressing.
It's funny that you remember this.
He'd been trying this trick for like an hour or some shit, and like this guy was just standing in the shot. Mastroni just ended up being totally exasperated and just being like, dude, please don't sit there.
I feel bad because he definitely was like some sort of special.
It was in Bellflower, like the middle of nowhere, a super weird area. There was this poor guy walking on the street. Yeah, but I don't blame him. I mean, I get fucking crazy when I'm trying to trick too.
I didn't care what kind of human he was. He was not going to be sitting in the shot.
Yeah, that's unacceptable.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny that you remember this.
Very well.
Fuck. All right, what were we talking about?
Just getting on Volume.
Okay, so I wrote for Volume for like a year, and then I don't know. It was weird because it was like I don't know. Fucking, we'll name names there. Fuck, Chris Long was the TM. I was super. Everybody on the team like was super dissatisfied with what was going on. It's like no offense to him personally, but it's just like he just wasn't doing it.
It wasn't working out. There's no doubt about that.
It was it is what it is, And but yeah, it was funny because I remember just like complaining to my fucking girlfriend at the time, like this girl Justine. I just remember being like, "How the fuck?" Like, because I was pissed off because like I lived like in a room like next to this dude, and like I shared a wall with him, and I'm just like, "How the fuck is this dude like my team manager?" I was so fucking pissed off. I was just like, "This is like he doesn't know how to do any of this shit. Like I do all this stuff all the time, and I do it 1,000 times better than this fucking guy does." And but yeah, she's just like, chill, like it'll work itself out or whatever. And then it ended up working itself out. I think what it was you had some sort of meeting with Castillo, probably about like ad rates or something like that.
And he was just like, do you know anybody who would be a good filmer? I was like, yeah, Mastroni would kill it.
Yeah,
you gotta hire him.
That's pretty much what it was. It was just like you just kind of went in there and you vouched for me, and it was like I didn't even know any of this was going down. And then like you texted me like, oh hey, like you should probably go have a meeting with Castillo or whatever.
I think I remember being there the day you guys first rode together because I was at school with the brick hips.
Yeah.
And it was funny because Castillo's doing all his stuff that he normally does, and then you, like on a like brick wedge hip, you're kind of like, what the fuck am I going to do? And I remember you just doing the hang nothings around, or no, hang tens with both feet on the front pegs.
That was weird. It was like I felt like I was like, do I have to like impress this guy?
Yeah, it was like a weird sponsored test.
Yeah. But like Castillo's he's the type of dude where he's just kind of like all he has to do is meet you and like see that you're a normal guy and you're not insane, and he's just like, okay, I think this will work out.
I like that you go hard with the fucking. That's Doyle like doing. That's like Mastroni doing Doyle doing Brian Castillo.
No, yeah, we really do go hard with the Castillo voice. It's pretty funny. Like it's just kind of like it's so like natural now that it's just like, oh hey, what'd Brian say? Like he said maybe at this skate park at 5.
Yeah. It's like not even a joke at all. Yeah,
it's just like normal, commonplace in the van or whatever.
So what do you think you were going to be doing for Volume in the first place, and then what did you actually end up doing?
Well, yeah, it's like we sort of had this initial meeting, and then he was kind of like, okay, well, I'll put you on like a trial run for being like TM filmer. I kind of thought it was just Volume I was kind of in the dark about the whole thing, honestly, because I remember you texted me one day and just like, hey, like you gotta, like go have a meeting with Castillo or whatever, and I was kind of just like, I remember meeting with Castillo and just being like, well, like Adam said I should like talk to you. Like I just like fucking like just like such a dumb kid, like, you know, and even though that was only like 3 years ago. And yeah, and then he was just kind of like, oh, I mean, do you really want to do this? Oh. And I was just like, yeah, like whatever, like I'll do it. And he's like, okay, well, Castillo's Steez is like he always puts people on like a trial run. So
Right.
When I agreed, I was like, okay, yeah, like I'll do it. Joey Cobbs was Demolition TM at the time, and he was sort of like handling the duties for volume because Chris was fucking slacking. So that's kind of like how it was. So then like Castillo wanted to put me on as TM filmer, and Joey was like, okay, well, like I got Joey voice too. Joey was like, okay, bro, like we'll do like an Arizona trip, and like we'll be sick. We'll be like you, Maddie, Rock, everybody can come. Jonas, it'll be sick, bro. Like shoot a bunch of photos, and like so that's pretty much like how it went down.
Sounds about right.
It was like Maddie, Jonas, Drew Haas because he lives in Arizona. And then Brock, like me and Brock got on kind of at the same time.
Right.
So that's when we made that his welcome video to that DJ Paul song.
Ooh, speaking of DJ Paul,
Cocky.
he was talking about him.
Whatever, yeah.
God damn, I remember.
Cocky, damn, right nigga, cocky.
I remember that shit. You know, that mic is working now. I just plugged it back in. So
Yeah, I know. I can talk now.
we can't see Beacon, but we can hear.
Yeah.
You can't see me, but I'm here.
Okay, maybe I should unplug it. But
Yeah.
More like be gone.
But was that one of the, was Bajan? Was that one of the first
Brandon Bajan?
Was that one of the first projects that you did? Was the Brock video for Volume?
So
it was a bunch of web videos.
Out
at
of
first,
that
right?
trip, it was like I was just kind of like, okay, I kind of just like took a whole one look at like the Volume infrastructure, and I was like, okay, like I gotta update the blog, I gotta film the clips, I gotta do the edits, I gotta fucking like it's like I gotta do everything. So at that moment, I was just like at OSS, it was like, yeah, I'm the filmer, but it's like I can just slack off and like still be the filmer because it's like it's Adam, you know.
Yeah,
but, like,
it was so
does that
loose
feel?
at the time. It was so like unstructured because like people can't even understand when they think about the come up now, like how much of nothing it was at the time. Like it was this really popular blog, but in terms of like the people that work for us, it was pretty much me. Like
it was nothing. Yeah,
yeah, it was weird. Like
yeah.
to think about it.
It was
now,
like you
yeah.
in your disgusting little room in New York with fucking
jerking off onto
Yeah.
a roll of paper towels. Yeah.
Yeah, just like the hairy sink that like was all clogged and shit. It was so disgusting. Anyway,
I was not very good at being an adult at the time.
so that's basically what it was that Arizona trip. So we did that Arizona trip, and I was kind of like, all right, well, it's Brian Castillo, it's a real bike company, it's not Adam.
Mm-hmm.
So I gotta hustle, I gotta like do stuff. So it was like every day, like Castillo's the type of dude, at least he was at the time. He's not like this anymore, but he used to be like the type of dude. It'd be like 10 a.m. He'd be like, hey, Mastroni, where's the fucking blog update? You know, and like, so I didn't have a camera or anything, so I would just shoot all the blog updates with my phone and just like tell, like, I would like write little stories about like, oh, like here's Drew and his turtles, and here's like just whatever he wanted for the blog, like I just had it covered. And then we'd go out during the day, like Joey was driving the van, so it wasn't like I got like the full TM experience or anything on that trip, but yeah, out of that trip, we did like because it was a good combo because like Brock was just got on, and Brock obviously was like looking to prove himself and like move up within the company.
This
or
is
whatever.
when he first got the bump to Volume from Colony Flow or whatever it was on at the time.
So Brock was like really looking to prove himself. I was really looking to do a good job for Brian and like show him that I was worthy of like having this position, you know. And so. Excuse me. Out of that trip, we got the Brock video, and then like a Drew Haas web video, and then like Jonas had filmed like when he was on, he filmed like a few really solid clips for whatever like Volume web video that was at the time. I did all the blog updates, like I don't know, I held it down, and so I got home and I was kind of like, okay, well this is how much I want for these videos. And then it was kind of like, all right, cool, and like you got the job, like come in, sign your contract, whatever. And so then my contract at that point was like, you know, 2 years on for like volume TM, volume filmer, demolition staff, videographer, and then like I guess all that.
So did you have a conversation with Castillo right away? Like, yo, I want to do a Volume full length. Like,
That
this
was
is
the
what we
very
need
first
to
thing
do.
I said to him. Yeah. He was just like, yeah, so you got any ideas? I'm like, my voice is all hoarse from like talking, so I can't do it too well.
I totally understand where you're going for. That's great.
But yeah, he was just like, oh, so what do you want to do? And I was like, well, yeah, I want to do a full length. And he's just like, oh yeah, we've been talking about it for a while.
It sounds like Mickey Mouse or something.
And, Yeah, I guess like because I remember like the talks like when Chris Long was just like the Demolition DVD had came out or whatever, and like Chris Long was just like, yeah, well, like we'll see, like volume DVD is gonna be sick. I'm gonna do DVD, and I was just thinking in my head like, yeah, right, dude, you're gonna do volume DVD. Like,
so you knew you wanted to do it. From the beginning.
But like I wasn't even in the position to do it, you know. But now that became a reality, I was like, oh yeah, that's me. I'm doing it. Like I'm doing the volume DVD. And it's gonna be, it's like that. It's gonna be exactly like it's gonna be sick. So yeah. So at that point, it was like, one of the pretty much the first thing I did at Volume, like as like TM, was like I told Brian I wanted to do a DVD, and then I was just kind of like, all right, dude, well, like look at your team, like, I mean, dude's like Skinny, or dude's like fucking this dude Juicy who lives out here, like
he's a Juicy,
like Skinny's sick, obviously, nothing against Skinny, but like,
but so yeah, you made some changes to the team.
So I thinned out the team, but then it's like, so yeah, I got rid of like all these dudes who for whatever reason either didn't like fit with what I wanted to do with the video and the brand.
You had a very specific vision. I mean, this is like who you are. Is like you have a very specific vision for any project or team that you're gonna be a part of.
I mean, it wasn't even about the video at that point. It was just like, okay, like I'm gonna keep on dudes who I feel get street riding,
right,
or at least are active. Like I feel like a dude like Skinny gets street riding, obviously, but he's just not like
he had already moved on.
Yeah, he moved on. His priorities like weren't volume, and it was like funny that dudes like that were still on the team or whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So like the first thing I did, it was like just get rid of all those dudes who I felt like didn't fit the brand image, and we were sort of left with like Tate and Drew and Jason and like D and like a few other guys that I was like, all right, like these dudes are the shit, you know. These are like dudes I'd want to watch a video part of, and I think these are like dudes who are capable of like going in for a video part. So then the first dude I added was Raban, and that was like a no-brainer. Like he was on Giant or something, and it was just kind of like, okay, like why are you on Giant? You're like one of the most progressive street riders.
There was
on the
definitely
face of the earth. Like you can't be on Giant. Like,
but Raban is such a good dude though. He was like mad loyal to Giant. Like he didn't want to leave Giant like unless he had.
Dude is good. Such a nice guy.
Yeah, he's like such a great dude. So I added Raban. That was like pretty much a no-brainer, and like I had already like been. I'm pretty sure I'd already filmed like multiple web videos with Raban through OSS or whatever. So that was like
that one totally Texas easy. One. We could do a whole episode about that. That was a sick
that
one.
That one Texas. Yeah, that was a good time. So yeah, I added Raban, and then Drew was kind of like, hey, Mastroni, I think I got another edition for you. You should check out my friend Eric. So,
who we had in here literally yesterday, just for the record.
Yeah. Ballman? Oh, nice.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So we put Ballman on, and that was kind of like, I had met him in passing a couple times, but it was just kind of like, all right, well, he's good. He's clearly like a fucking G with free coaster stuff. Like Ballman is like so free coaster advanced. He's more advanced than any other person with a free coaster, in my opinion. Yeah, because Ballman knew he hated pedaling backwards from a very young age. Like he never he never even had a chain. Like so, Ballman is he's an anomaly, man. He's crazy.
He was a chainless rider.
He was told he knew he hated it. Like he had this part. I think it was like that I Got Work video that Chadwick made or whatever, and like half of it is like him with no chain, just because he hated it. He was just like, oh, I just want to roll backwards.
Yeah, in retrospect, the chainless thing actually seems like kind of a good idea because everybody has a coaster.
Except you can't pedal forward.
Except you can't pedal around with your friends.
Right. We all saw Alex Donici toothpick up like a 15 stair rail like 100 times with no chain. That blew my mind, dude.
Pushing up to it.
Yeah. Anyway, unrelated.
So Raban, Ballman, then Platt. Like Platt was kind of obvious too, because it was like
you both were fed up with Proper at the time.
We both were fed up with Proper, and yeah, he ultimately is like, which is the type of dude like, oh goddamn it, they sent me something. It's like the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, Mastroni. So yeah, it's pretty much like what happened.
He's got a voice for every single one of his friends. This is so good.
We do.
We all kind of do. Actually,
that's not actually even like a really good Platt.
He's just good at busting it out on demand.
Yeah, but all right. So Platt, and I also I live with Platt too. So it was kind of just like, okay, well, I see that you're unhappy with your current situation. Like I have this awesome situation. Like let's fucking make some cool stuff happen, you know. So Platt was kind of a no-brainer too. From there we did, I think, Billy Perry was like he was like on some sort of grassroots deal or something at the time where he was getting shit for like cost, but he was a super motivated dude. He kind of like killing it when he was young. Like, I mean, you know, his younger videos are like he looks like a little kid or whatever, but you see that he's like motivated. Mm-hmm. And so we saw, like, I was just kind of like, he put out one video where I was just like, dude, you're too good to like be on, you know, like let's just get you on like AM Team or whatever at least. So like we kind of like bumped him up to a situation where he could be like filming with all of us or whatever. Then Kramer, yeah,
Stranger. then the Stranger restructuring went down, and he was kind of like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna be on volume."
Restructuring.
That's the greatest voice. That is totally. Yeah.
Seems Red Churches pulled the fast one. And no longer have a sponsor.
Maybe there's a spot for me on the volume team. Perhaps you'll employ me as a volume rider.
Quite a conundrum, Tony.
I shared a hotel room with him like a few months ago, so I totally I'm up on the Kramis voice.
Really fucking spot on.
He's like a I don't know, like a monk or something.
He always like it's not even like the voice. Like he really does talk like that, but it's like he has an expression for everything. Like
He just sounds so stoned all the time.
well, yeah, it's like one time he like spilled his drink on the table, and like every normal person's reaction when they spill a drink on the table is like, "Oh fuck!" Like, "Oh shit, fuck!" Like I gotta clean this up or whatever. Like he just kind of like looked at it and he was just like,
Maximum spillage.
and like we all rip on him for that like all the time.
Because Kramis living in the OSS house was one of the first times that he like had like an adult living situation, if you want to call that an adult living situation. But there were so many things that drove Catfish and like a few other people insane.
Well, Catfish
like,
I love Catfish, but he's a fucking idiot.
he's
like
a psychopath. This
he's a
is
fucking
clearly
psycho.
true,
Yeah,
yes.
like so it's
Yeah.
like those two living together. Kramis is
Oh
like
my
a
God,
chill,
yeah.
normal dude, but like I could totally see how somebody like Catfish and somebody like Kramis would like collide. You know, like
yeah, Kramis is just like forgetful. But Catfish
Yeah.
is the kind of person that like if you fuck up a little bit, like he might just decide that this is your life
like
from
Kramis
now
is the
on,
type
yeah.
of dude who might leave his toast in the toaster or something, and then Catfish is the type of dude who would just be like, "Why is there just fucking toast in the toaster? Like, oh my God, what's going on?"
Like the worst combo you can imagine.
like,
Yeah,
so
totally.
it's just like total like schizophrenic fucking crazy person, and then like a dude who just was like a little forgetful, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Raban, Ballman, Platt, Billy, Kramis, and then Brock was really good friends with this dude Josh Clemens, and Josh,
And he hadn't made the move to LA yet, right?
yeah, no, he lived with.
with Caleb in
He's a
fucking.
Corona.
He lived
He was a
in
Corona, right? Okay.
Yeah, but he lived out there, and then I don't know, like it was like he was Brock's homie. I think he filmed like a Vital edit or something. But I mean, Brock would always bring him around in the van and stuff, and he was like super cool, super good dude. Josh is actually like probably one of my best friends like now, because like he's like he's like Raban. Like, you know how you like, hey, think of something bad to say about Raban, like you can't even think of anything bad. It's like
He's not that
Josh
kinda guy,
is
yeah.
the exact same
I think
way.
he's goofy footed.
Yeah.
Raban? Okay. There
That's
you
the
go, yeah.
only goddamn thing, though.
But yeah, so
But
like
he's so good at four pegs, it really doesn't matter.
Josh is kind of
Sorry.
like a young Seeley. Like he's got that steez where he grew up racing, and his dad was like super into. His dad is like still rides. Like his dad is like a Brock's kind of situation where his dad's like a BMX rider.
That's an important part of the Sealy thing.
got
He was a
into it.
racer, yeah.
Yeah, and like they both have kind of that like insane bike control and like all that kind of stuff going on, and like similar style, kind of like left foot forward, like long hair. Like I don't know, he looks a lot like Jake kind of when he rides to me. So like Josh was like totally a no brainer, and like yeah, he's like one of my favorite riders now, and probably my favorite dude to film with of like anybody ever. So like yeah, Josh was sick.
That's a bold statement, isn't it?
And then I mean, besides maybe like Tate, you know, or
Right.
like
Yeah,
someone, you know, like obviously like someone like-minded.
Very
is a little-
different.
Yeah.
Tate,
Yeah, it's just
guys.
different things, like different, you know, facets of BMX or whatever. But then, yeah, and then the most recent dude, like Josh and DeMarcus, I think were kind of like around the same time.
So were you looking at like when you added somebody like DeMarcus to the team where you're like, we need dudes that are more like new age street riders or something like that?
It's funny, I actually put DeMarcus on the team without ever having met him.
Really?
Yeah.
You just were that hyped on his riding?
Yeah.
He's that good.
It was
He
just
is
the
that
type
good.
of thing where it was like, because DeMarcus has since, like, now I know him and he's like one of my best friends. You know, we would like hang out all the time, like regardless of who we were riding, you know, we're like really good friends, you know. But it's like I never met him, but it's like I could see kind of like the same thing with Billy, where it was just like, dude, like this dude is like, there was a period in time where like Devin Smiley had a similar period where it was like Devin and DeMarcus are both actually from Georgia, so this makes this like even weirder. But there was definitely a period where like Devin Smiley was like, it was like every month or every like 3 weeks. It seemed like every
Yeah.
week he had some like crazy new. It was when he was like a
Yeah.
skate park.
We
dude.
talked about this on his podcast.
Yeah,
So
he had
just
some
a
like
period,
crazy new
yeah.
skate park video, and that's like how it was with DeMarcus, but it was like on the West Coast. But I guess he told me his story basically, and like he moved out from Georgia with his friend Derek or something like that, and he had like no money really, like no place to stay. He was like sleeping on the beach and shit. Like, I mean, I don't really know how much he wants me to talk about it or whatever, but it's like that was the reality of the situation. But DeMarcus is like the type of dude who was just like, I gotta hustle. You know, like that's just like that's exactly how he would say it too. And he's just like, So like there was like a time period for sure. It was like maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, maybe at this point. But it was like every week there was like DeMarcus Paul video Miles film, DeMarcus Paul skate park video, like legit street video, Freed video, like
Freed. He was a Freed soldier.
Miami
That's a name you don't
like-
forget either.
Freed?
No.
DeMarcus Paul. Yeah, this is definitely a stands out name. Freed at last.
Yeah.
Shout out to Freed.
Yeah, but fucking yeah. So
Team Freed.
It was like he's like kind of like Raban too, in that he's like a really loyal dude, and he didn't want to have some weird situation. Like he kind of knew that like him and Tammy like both of those dudes, like, you know, like Freed is sick obviously, but it's like those dudes were obviously like holding it down for like the most popular dudes on the team. Yeah, I don't really know what's going on with the company now, but DeMarcus like definitely felt that like sense of loyalty where he was just like, I don't know, man, like I don't know if I want to quit. Like, it's gonna fuck a bunch of stuff up.
Yeah.
Like
he did something for me. Why the fuck would I quit? Yeah,
Joey Cobbs, yeah, exactly. Like he's the type of dude where you give him something and he's not taking it for granted, you know. So like, but Joey Cobbs is just kind of like, listen, bro, like I really think you should like go hang out with Castillo. Like, you know, it's probably like a pretty good offer. You probably get like exchange your frame, you know, consider it. And I hit him up like during that time too, trying to like push it along. Like, all right, dude, like you know, let's do this for real. Like, I'm offering you this. Like, Brian's offering you this, a frame. Like, I'll give you like first part in the video. You know, let's make it happen. Like, judging by how productive you are. This is all like via like email or like text or whatever and shit too. Like, I never met the guy, and then but all I heard was like good things. So I was just like, fuck it, like let's do it. You know, he's killing it. Like, he's the type of dude where it's like, how is this guy in Southern California and no one's fucking with him? It was kind of like we were all. It was as if all the company owners like looking at each other, and Brian was just like, seriously, like no one's fucking with this guy. Like, all right, like,
but he's a bit older too, isn't he? Like 28.
Yeah,
He's like 30.
He doesn't look 28 at all.
Oh, wow.
dude,
Whatever he may be.
eats so shitty. It's
Really?
like he eats like I can only imagine how you probably eat, but like
Mostly ass.
yeah, me too.
Pause.
But no, I can only
too.
I was doing that stuff way before you.
Yeah, he brought me into the fold. Yeah.
Choreography days.
Oh god. All right. Anyway, yeah, no, DeMarcus.
DeMarcus, yeah. But he was one of your main additions. So this is one of my main questions: is what's it like filming somebody like Enz or Tate versus Brock or DeMarcus, where it's like super spot oriented dudes versus like Brock or DeMarcus could go to a flat ledge and they could film a full edit on it. Probably
the thing about those dudes is, I think DeMarcus took to it a little bit more quickly than Brock did, but it's like with volume, it's like everybody kind of knows like I run like a super fucking spot focused ship, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like if you don't get that, and if you don't get like street riding in that way, like you're out, you know? And I mean, obviously it would never be like, oh, like, yeah, Brock, like you're out or whatever, but Brock, like from like early Brock, like when we filmed that DJ Paul video, that was very much so just like Drew Haas, like showing him spots and being like, hey, Brock, you could probably do this on this. That's going to be pretty crazy. And like, that's kind of how that video went down. But obviously the dude is like, has so much raw skill. And like, you know, I don't want to ever like say anything that would like take that away from him. Cause I think he's seriously like one of the best bike riders in the world, you know,
Easy,
in my opinion. But I think like he, you know, like if I was like however old Brock was, like I think like 18 or 19 or something when it got on volume, like I wouldn't have fucking understood that like being spot oriented when it comes to filming at that age either, you know? So he kind of like taught, like, I don't know, we kind of like between like me and Drew and like Jason, like I feel like him being in the van and like hanging out with us, it was like only a matter of time before he became a really, really spot oriented dude too. So
you've seen that transformation over the past couple of years?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I wrote about it in like we did like a Ride article about the video and stuff, and I definitely wrote like a pretty lengthy little thing about it in there. But yeah, like what I was gonna say is that like the only difference really, since like I definitely consider Brock and DeMarcus like super setup oriented riders now, but the only difference is that they're conventional setup oriented riders, whereas Tate is like, I'm gonna fly to Salt Lake City, I'm gonna get off the plane, we're gonna get in the car, and we're gonna go play in some garbage. It's fucking awesome. Like,
yeah,
you know, that's the difference. Or like Jason is like we're gonna be hiking up a mountain, and he's gonna lie to us and tell us it's like a really short walk, but it's actually like an hour. You know, like that's like riding.
That is what the average end session is like. Is like you're just on this crazy mission in the middle of the desert or something.
I mean, like averagely riding with ends is riding with ends on a regular basis is like it's either like he's having a day or we're having a day. Like ends has a pretty immense like spot knowledge. You know what I mean? So it's like he's either taking us to stuff that he think Brock's gonna like, or Josh is gonna like, or I'm gonna like, or whatever, for like filming, or if it's like he has something to do, it's like usually no one really comes out. Like he's kind of like me, like he doesn't really mind people around, but it's like he's not trying to have the whole van there while he's trying to do something. So it's like most of the best shit we filmed for his section actually, like in the finer things, like the tunnel, like the gap to wall out of the tunnel to like into the other tunnel to Carves to Wall 180, like all that shit was like we're just hiking up there by ourselves and like, you know, just me and him, and it's like I think that's kind of like how he wants it to. You're
hyped on those experiences though? Are those like really good days for you where you get to just be out there doing that? Yeah,
absolutely. Like, dude, I love that shit. Like, I love being able to, you know, if somebody like has if Tate has a vision and he wants to like make that look the best he can, I love to like be the dude who can like be there for Tate and be like, all right, let's take what you have here and let's make it look sick and make it look as good as possible and like really presentable to the viewer, so it like tells the story of your experience, your like thought process or whatever, you know. And the same thing with Jason is like I love to just be able to like filming with Jason is actually super interesting to me because it's like I don't get to film like full pipes and stuff like every day, you know what I mean? So it's like, and
artistically it's like a totally different challenge.
Artistically, as I get older, it's just like it's cool because I spend a lot of time watching like skate videos, and I'm like I have like my dudes who I'm super hyped on like in that regard or whatever, and you know they're always riding like such unique Arizona ditch spots and like full pipe spots and stuff. So when I go filming with Jason, it's almost like I get to pretend like I'm those dudes, you know? I get to be like, all right, like how can I film this to just make it look like so much more crazy than it actually is, you know? Like I like to be able to like tell that story, you know?
Right.
So
like I know one challenge for you is that you want to give a video part to all your friends or all the people on the team, but then at the same time, I know that you're aware of the fact that like if this video is too long, then it's going to be a pain in the ass for people. Or if this video, you know, like you have to make decisions like that. So is that a hard decision that you gave? Who was it? Ballman and Josh Clemens had a split section.
Yeah, that just kind of happened naturally. It was like, I don't know, Ballman. It wasn't like anything weird. It was like Ballman. Actually, Ballman has a ton of extra footage, but I think kind of how it went down was that like Josh got on the team late. Josh and DeMarcus probably got on around the same time, but I guess
Josh was on SE for
Josh was on
first,
SE.
even when you were hanging out with him for a while. You did a web video for them of him, right?
No, I never did anything for
okay.
SE. But yeah, it was like Josh. I guess I just didn't really like Josh was on AM or whatever. I guess he still kind of is, even though he like just works full time for Volume, so he has like an interesting situation. But he was on AM, so I guess I never really expected him to come through with a full section. But I realized quickly that like he could, but I didn't really like. It was kind of like, oh yeah, like we'll work on it, whatever. But all these other dudes are priority because they have to have full sections,
right?
You know? And then Ballman was kind of like. He would come on a bunch of trips and shit like that, but his part of the split section was basically just like his best stuff because Ballman would like Ballman is so fucking good, but sometimes he just at least maybe he's better now, but like at the time he just sort of ended up with a bunch of like repetitive stuff, you know. I don't think he'd be bummed on like me saying that or anything. Like it's just kind of how it went. Like he just ended up with a bunch of stuff that was like, okay, we have this backlash to like manual 360 or manual 180, but it's like we also have like these other three.
Right.
So it's like which ones are we going to use? And like I don't think that that's going to really constitute a full part.
And that's a tough conversation though for you as an editor to have with like your friend to be like, oh, I think you know this is different, you know?
Yeah, and I don't think he was really conscious of it because Ballman is just the kind of guy like he just loves BMX, he loves riding. He's the type of dude that like he's just. Say your camera battery runs out or something like that, and like he just wants to do the trick, you know. Like he's like the Energizer Bunny. Like he just keeps like going and going and going, and like it's like he just takes his shirt off and like the Arizona heat and just gets all fucking sweaty. Like I don't know, he just like lives for that shit. Like it doesn't bother him. He's just like, and then he's at the end of it all, he's like totally even keeled, just like, oh, okay, I guess I got a flat, like. It's cool. We'll try it again another time. Like he's just so like I've never seen him really upset, but I've never seen him like really psyched either. You know, he's just like very level-headed. So I wasn't like I don't know. The conversation was never really had. It was kind of just like, okay, like, you know, I think I might have talked to him a little bit about it. Like, oh, you have some kind of repetitive footage. Like, I don't think we're really going to have time to round it out. So, you know, we can just make a split part. It'll be cool. And it's cool. I like that part a lot, actually. I used my favorite song probably ever, or at least of the past year, which made it good, I think. I was really psyched on the song. And, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, it worked out. Like I think it worked out well. But that was the only people who didn't come through. But it wasn't like they didn't come through. It was just like that's just kind of how it happened naturally. Yeah.
All right. You want to switch cards?
Can I take a piss?
Yeah.
I have to piss.
Yeah. Just stop it.
Stop.
Put this in and format it, and then we're good.
No, you do it. No. Hold the camera.
When you psychopath.
Shoot over it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, oh shit.
Lean the camera almost went into the cup of Red Bull.
That camera looked like